I was physically, verbally, racially, emotionally, and sexually abused for 6 years of my life. That's basically from the ages of, I just turned 11 till 16, getting ready for 17. It was tough. I don't know how I got through it.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time you're listening to this. Welcome to That's Your Opinion podcast with Tez and Chris. We've got a very special guest. But before we introduce our guest, Tez might be joining us. She might not, don't know. So she might join us. So like and subscribe to our channel, and you can listen to this on iTunes, Spotify and other podcast platforms. So we've got a special guest today. We've got Saf. If you don't know who Saf is, I'm sure by the end of the podcast you're going to know who Saf is. He's a man after my own heart. He does a lot of work in recovery, in substance misuse. So without further ado, Saf, how you doing, mate?
Hey Chris, I'm so happy to see you and hear you, and I can see this technology is amazing. We've met without meeting. It's beautiful, isn't it? I'm great, man. How you doing? You okay?
Yeah,
thanks for having me. Thank you so much for having me, and it's great to be of service in one way, I hope.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, mate, and thanks for coming on. And we've had guests on each week, and I thought of you. I thought, yeah, Saf, he's a good guy. He's got a sort of similar vision. And, you know, he does I always champion, champions in recovery who's got a vision and does, positive stuff and raise awareness about addiction. So just tell us a bit about yourself, mate, and, and then we'll just listen and take it on board.
Yeah,
so
great. I mean, do you want me to start at the beginning, really? I don't know.
I think, but, it's up to you, mate. There's no...
Because my beginning was when I came into recovery.
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? When I came into recovery, my whole life changed, and it changed for the better. There's no two ways about it. I keep on asking myself, Chris, if I didn't do what I did or go through what I went through, would I be the person I am today? And the answer would probably be no. But it's a shame that I had to go through what I had to be what I am today. But hey, that's how it happened. And I ask myself that question all the time, the destruction, the hurt, the chaos that I caused throughout 33 years of addiction, which is how long I was an addict for. Would I have been the person I am today? And the answer would be no. But it's a shame that I had to do all that and hurt a lot of people and, come to near-death experiences myself to get to who I am today. But anyway, that's how it is. And that's why I guess subconsciously I'm determined to, all the pain I've caused to others and to myself, not to let it go to waste. And I'm determined to help people who may be causing similar pain to themselves and others, or may do in the future, to try and help them and get them through this, or get them out of this lifestyle like I was fortunate and blessed to get out of. So the answer to, that's the beginning of my life when I came into recovery, but now I'm going to go back to the beginning of the chaos, if you like. And it's crazy because a lot of things that I'll probably say today is all upon reflection, because when I was in that prison, I say prison, the prison of my mind, when I was in that prison of my mind and I couldn't get out, I didn't know what I'm going to say today. I was born 2.5 months premature, and as soon as I was delivered, I was put into an incubator because obviously I was very weak and close to death. As soon as I came through the incubator, I was adopted by 2 lovely parents from London. They were parents who believed in the Islamic faith, but the ancestry, the heritage is the Hindu converts living in London. They couldn't have children, and they adopted me, and I spent the first 7-8 years in East London on Cannon Street Road in Whitechapel, just around the corner from Ronnie and Reggie Cray. Basically, I think they got nicked around the same time when I was living there. So I was never held or by my birth mother. There was never any connection of anything once I was delivered, and I only found this out when I was 18. When when I was at university, first of three, because I got kicked out. So, and I know after speaking to a lot of people and studying a bit of psychology myself, I do believe that there could have been some kind of impact later on in life because of that situation, that incident that happened from the day I was born. But anyway, I had a lovely life with my parents, but I was the only child. Lived in the East End. A lot of, I could go through the whole schooling system, but I think I wanted to mention that in particular, Chris, because I believe, even though my parents who adopted me loved me very much, I believe that they can't have a maternal bond or a paternal bond because I wasn't really theirs. Even though I was 3 days old and 2.5 months premature, I was probably more than theirs because I shouldn't have been born really, but I was with them. But anyway, so I was born in Bradford. I'm a Yorkshire lad. You can't tell by the accent, Chris. I was born in Bradford, but brought up in East End, then North East, and then lived in North London. But went to boarding school in Surrey, which was probably the worst 6 years of my life at boarding school. But at the time, I thought they were the best 6 years of my life. It's crazy at that age. I don't know whether you're coming or going, but again, later on in life, the abuse that one endured for 6 years was unacceptable, really, and played a big part of me turning to alcohol initially. So do you want me to carry on, Chris? Shall I just carry on my story, or yeah?
Carry on, mate. Just crack on, mate. Yeah, fantastic.
Because there is a book coming out called Out of the Madness, which is with the editors as we speak. So a lot of my story will be in the book, but the book isn't really just about my story. It's about trying to give a message of hope, and is what I try and do on a daily basis ever since I've come into recovery. So I think we might just go straight on to me going to boarding school at the age of 11. Obviously, there were a lot of things up until then, being the only child and feeling neglected, not having a brother or sister, and asking my parents why. But we have, there's a lot of things going on, and a lot of isolation, being alone. But it was something I got used to. So going to boarding school was a massive shock. Leaving my parents for the first time, who were the only two people I really knew, and then coming into a school which was predominantly a white boarding school. My background, I don't know. The story I've heard is my birth mother was from Pakistan, Punjab culture, and birth father I don't know anything about. What I do know is that my birth grandparents forced my birth mother to give me up because they didn't agree with my birth father. That's all I know. So taking that into consideration, either she was too young, or he was from a different faith or different religion or different race, I don't know. But she's from what I believe is Pakistani Punjabi race. So I don't really know my full background. I do have Asian. I look Asian, Indian Asian, Pakistani Asian, whatever. But that's all I know. I don't know exactly where my roots are from. But either way, I'm in a predominantly white boarding school, and it was a massive, massive shock for me. I was there for 6 years, and without going too deeply into what I experienced, because that would all definitely be in the book, and I don't think we've got enough time to go through every episode, but I was physically, verbally, racially, emotionally, and sexually abused for 6 years of my life. So that's basically from the ages of, I just turned 11 till 16, getting ready for 17. It was tough. I don't know how I got through it. Well, I do know. My saviour was vodka. My saviour was vodka, and what the vodka did for me was it helped me get through the week that I just experienced, and got me ready for the following week, really, because it started off on a weekly basis. And I remember my first drink, it was and it was in a funny kind of way. I was sort of accepted then by my own peers. It's like I'd come alive. It's like I was born for the first time at school. And this is about 6 months, or my first year at school, because we were getting wedgies on a regular basis, baseball bats crossed out, smacked on our knees. We were getting dead legs. I even had a little game of Russian roulette with one of the seniors, not knowing if it was loaded or not. It was just crazy stuff. Hanged out of windows, 10 foot high, 15 foot high, and the only thing holding me was my pants from wedgie. I mean, this was an experience that I would never have learned anywhere else. And
so that's where the extremes started to come into your life then, Saf?
oh, definitely. And it was, and we felt, I think you might be able to relate to this, but in the 80s especially, there was a massive code of silence. Like, you don't say nothing. You keep your mouth shut.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise it would get worse. Or you can't snitch. You can't grass. You can't sneak. Our word was called sneak, but I know grass and snitching is exactly the same thing. Yeah. So we did. We kept, so my parents had no clue. And we sort of, it was like, it was, their reason was like, this is for you to man up. This is for you to become a man. Yeah, you got to take this. This is what you do. You got, I mean, this is what was instilled in our minds. Don't forget, I'm 11 years old. Drank a bottle of vodka. While my two mates I was with, they were drinking 2 bottles of cider each. My first ever drink, neat. Must have downed it in about 5, 6, maybe 7 gulps. 3/4 of a litre bottle of vodka. I remember it today. It was in Farnham. Boarding school was in Frensham in Farnham in Surrey. And I was off my face. I was gone. Paralytic. I don't remember, but quite apparently across the road, went flying in, smashed my head open, got in a taxi. Anyway, got caught by the headmaster. Next thing, I'm in hospital with tubes in my stomach, getting my stomach pumped. This is my first, and this must have been a Friday evening after school, because we were boarders. And came out of it pretty quickly. So Sunday, I think by Sunday I was back at school, and all I was worried about is my parents finding out. Well, they were happy not to tell my parents. I was happy they didn't tell my parents. So it was great, because in those days, was it £6,000, £7,000, £8,000 a year, which was a lot of money in those days for boarding school fees. Would have been a very good chance that the school would have missed out on that, especially with my first year as well. So it was in their best interest. Now I see that my parents weren't told. It was my best interest, because I felt ashamed and I felt I would have let them down if they'd found out. So it's sort of a win-win on both sides. But obviously, upon reflection, my parents know. I'd like to think they would have taken me out of that situation immediately. And the rest that I'm going to talk about may never have happened, but it did. Stomach pumped, blah, blah, blah. But it was like I was the main guy at school all of a sudden. I was the guy who puked on the headmaster, the guy who had the stomach pump, the guy who happened to be started. This is when I started becoming a joker. I remember Monday as well. It was our turn to do assembly, and I changed my whole assembly script and did it on alcoholism. I thought it'd be funny because of what happened the Friday before. Again, I got punished for that. So alcohol was a savior for me. It really was. And so basically from the age of 11, whether it was a celebration, whether it was a commiseration, whether it was getting through, or I call it survival and fear, because of those two things in particular, alcohol saved the day. Simple as that. And of course, eventually, the more I drank, the more I liked the effects it produced, the more my tolerance level went up. And from once a week, it became twice a week. And obviously, education was never a part of my 6 years at boarding school whatsoever. But whilst this was going on, the dead legs were continuing, the baseball bats were continuing, the racial slur, the racial abuse is continuing, the emotional abuse, the humiliation, the stripping, the putting the snakes on your body, and the insults. It's just pure humiliation, the different kinds of sexual acts that were happening, which I probably won't go through, but it's all in the book. And then when we joined the CCF, the Cadet Force Army, and we went on a trip to Germany, and that was probably one particular night, was probably the worst night ever. I was sexually assaulted at a pretty heavy level. It was me and 6 other boys. And because it was part of a school trip, even though it was with the Queen-owned Hussars tank regiment in Germany, based in Strasbourg on the borders of France and Germany. It was the last night. We were all drinking heavily, because it was the boarding school was very much a drinking culture. We were a rugby school as well, same school that Johnny Wilkinson went to, arguably the best number 10 England's ever had. But he joined when I just left, or in my final year. So, and obviously rugby's, after a match, everyone drinks. It was a very big drinking culture, and obviously I liked my drink because it got me through my years. So the last day in this particular army trip with the Queen and Hussars tank regiment, I mean, whilst I was there, I got beaten on a regular basis by the squaddies all the time. I remember burying the chieftain, the APC ambulance tank, because I went up fast and went down fast on the hill, and it just buried the barrel, and apparently it cost the army millions of pounds. And I got punished for it. I got beaten for it, like full-grown squaddies and all the rest of my friends, my so-called friends, and in the middle of a circle, and just getting beaten one by one because of what I did. By now I'm 15, but still, it was crazy. So it was the last night we all drank, and obviously that was like a big thing for me, drinking. Yes, lovely, great. And then at that night, 6 of us got assaulted sexually quite badly, really. One more, someone got worse than we did, if you like, and it was quite scary to see because it was in front of me. That was more or less forgotten about until we came back to school and the headmaster had found out something had happened. I remember us 6 boys in the office, and he said, his words were, "I guess you don't want your parents to know about all this, do you?" So we said no. We said no. And because we felt humiliated, we felt ashamed, we felt that it's the last thing you want your mum and dad to know about, and we all felt the same. Now, obviously, I reflect back, of course they wanted us not to tell anyone because that school would have been closed down.
You was in a trap. You was trapped, wasn't you, basically?
It was. So I mean, these are just a couple of examples that I'm giving. I mean, some of the stuff that went on. It was. I mean, years later, a couple of years ago, I worked as a drug and alcohol practitioner at HMP Swaleside, which is a lifers prison, Category B. Working there, I said to myself, boarding school's worse than this. This is a doddle. Now, for me to say as an adult, that shows that, I'd rather be in prison than be in a boarding school.
Can I ask, has anybody been held accountable?
No. We opened up we had a Facebook page, the school Facebook page, and people started coming out, the 6 boys in particular, and myself included, and started talking about it. And then we opened up our own WhatsApp page, and someone from America, who's now in America, he contacted Guildford Police. So I still got the letter. So Guildford Police were doing an investigation, and after a while, a letter came and said, and this is what I find hard to believe, so weak, this is out of our jurisdiction. It's happened in Germany. German police would have to deal with it. So my question to them was, wait a minute, it's a British boarding school. I'm tour with the British Army, the Queen's own Hussars tank regiment. Yes, the camp was in Germany. Surely the British police it's a British schooling system, British Army, and they said no. And obviously something that's important, that one of the abusers is in the police force.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So I know, in recovery, I've done a lot of thinking, and a big part of my recovery was going through the 12 steps, and forgiveness and praying for the perpetrators is something that I've done. It's got me through it, but I still sometimes think that something should happen, and then I think I should let go. And so it's like a yo-yo in my mind, what to do about what happened. And we call it the Germany trip. That's all we call it. My Facebook's called the Germany trip, and we think about it. And one person who went through a landmark. Have you heard about the landmark?
No.
You got it's like you got these groups, these conferences that they open over the weekend, and it's about personal growth and stuff. Landmark is quite a famous one. And so from him going to I've learned the DeMartini method. So it's this sort of similar sort of things. And
okay.
You got the Tony Robbins method and stuff like that. This is the landmark is quite a famous one. It's probably the most famous one in England anyway, I think. And he went through this, and he's come out of that, and he's the one actually who got it the worst in terms of the abuse in this particular Germany trip. And he will not take it further. He believes that this landmark experience has helped him get through. He's forgiven everyone, blah, blah, blah. The more I get involved with the DeMartini method, and obviously the 12 steps being a big part of my life that I practice on a daily basis, not necessarily go to the fellowships, but I practice the 12 steps on a daily basis, I feel I'm going towards that way as well. But not to say that I don't think about it sometimes.
Of course.
Whether to take it further or not, especially when you hear, the Jimmy Saviles and the football players and Ralph Harris's and recently the Harvey Weinsteins and, these top people years later getting convicted or whatever. It makes you think. Great news, I guess, but I don't know. Would it change what's happened? Would it stop them doing it to anyone else? That's the thing. Is it too late for that now? All these things go in your mind, but either way, the only way I do. So this is my teenage years, crucial years of daily abuse, and obviously sexual abuse on a daily basis, not daily, but on a regular basis at school. But obviously this particular sexual act in Germany, probably 1986, 7, was probably the worst single event that I've had to go through in that way. And before I know it, I'm 16, 17, and I've left school, and now I've come back to London, and it's everything's a shock. But my point is that those years groomed me in such a way that the only way that I knew what to do to deal with things, positive or negative, was drinking alcohol. And it was a savior, Chris. It was my best friend. It made me, at the time, I thought the person I was, it made me confident, it got me through things, and without alcohol, I don't think I would have survived. But in the end, it went the other way around. Too much of alcohol went into drugs and the toxic lifestyle that I was leading. But it all started from there, and I truly, truly believe that. So the question I ask is that would I have gone through everything I went through for the next 25 years of abuse to myself and others if I didn't go through those 6 years that I went through? I don't know the answer to that. I'd say no. So in adult life, obviously at the age of 18, I found out I was adopted. Massive shock. Biggest thing was that it was like my whole life was a lie. My whole life was a lie, and everyone who I knew, family-wise, knew about this globally. And I don't know what I felt. What I did know is that the day I found out, I went to Bolsover Street in Portland, Great Portland Street, where my university was, and went in the bar and got absolutely smashed. Again, the only way I knew how to deal with things. Told some complete stranger about my life story. Well, about the story that I'm adopted, actually. That's all I said, we spoke about. And then, obviously prior to all that, I dabbled in a bit of weed. But it was alcohol that was my mate. Weed sort of mellowed me out too much. I just wanted to drink and get that buzz. So we're talking now 1990, 1991. I always wanted to be an actor. That's one thing that boarding school did for me, is bring out my acting talent. I won a couple of awards. I guess, but I think the alcohol played a big part of that, because it made me be an actor on a daily basis. So then they thought, so why don't we choose you to be in this play? And I did, and I won the award for it. And I remember Ernie's Incredible Hallucinations. That was the name of the play. I was Ernie. I forget who wrote that, Alan Ayckbourn or someone. Maybe we got that wrong. But anyway, so did a couple of little roles. So I thought, let me take this further. So I trained at the Lee Strasberg Actors Studio in London. Then I got accepted in the one in Hollywood, in LA. And then I went to LA and I did everything but act. Became a crackhead.
As you do.
You do. I became a crackhead. I was smoking Sherm. Do you know what Sherm is?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's angel dust, but it's not. It's PCP. It's the other form. Yeah, it's never again. So I was smoking Sherm. I mean, by my standards, it was a lot, but I was on 5 to 8 bones a day of crack. smoking as primos, which is with marijuana and the pipe, and hanging around with the wrong people. And someone's brother was a Crip gangster in South Central, and it was a lifestyle that I loved. Funny enough,
chaos.
But I did everything but act. So and that lasted a year and a half.
Wow.
That lasted a year and a half. I mean, I was mashed. I mean, I had bike accidents. I was in the Cedar Sinai Hospital. Thank God I was medically insured. It was. My face changed. I mean, I blistered. It was just crazy. It was the whole. I mean, it was a blur. The whole experience in LA was just a massive blur. I remember the bike accident. It was crazy. It was a crazy bike. I'd come back from. I used to go to the Viper Room, which is Johnny Depp's nightclub, on my own. I was the two people I didn't get on with. One of them actually later had a bit part in the Titanic, and another guy who's actually become quite, not A-class actor, but he's become quite successful. He's been in 24s, and he's now a producer and a director. He's acting with my favourite actor, Al Pacino, which I'm gutted about. I speak to them both now. I don't want to mention the names just in case, but I speak to them both quite regularly, and it's crazy how life's turned out, and what they started to do, they've actually done it. And what I started, it makes me think: did I want to become an actor because I like their lifestyle? So I went straight into the lifestyle, and as opposed to work hard for it. But that bike accident, mate, we used to go to the Viper Room. I used to go on my own, and I meet Richard, this guy who's from South Central, from the actual bit they call the Hood. It's actually a place called Compton, and he picked me up, and we'll go to this underground Latino club. The experience of this club was just, I've never seen anything like it. It's just scary. It's scary. Anyway, so then we'd leave. He'd go his way in his car, and I'd go on my bike. And I remember there's one particular night, I'm on the bike here. I don't know what happened, but I hit a curb, and I went flying. It was between Hollywood Boulevard and Sunset, and because my house was off Melrose Avenue, so it's all parallel. LA isn't, if you've been there. But so I went flying, and I was unconscious. And I remember waking up, and I saw bits of my bike all over the place. This is like 5 o'clock in the morning in Los Angeles, in Hollywood. And I started crying. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't move. And eventually the drugs kicked in, Chris, because I was on speed, crack, sherm, everything, man. It kicked in, and I got up like a Robocop. I remember it. Got like Robocop, started picking bits of my bike up, yeah. I wasn't too far away from home, so I started moving my bike. LAPD, come around. Are you okay, sir? I go, I'm okay. Oh, you're English? Yeah, I'm English. Oh, no problem. They had to go. Someone probably getting shot around the corner in Englewood or something, I don't know. But so anyway, so I couldn't move my bike anymore, so I parked it up, took the bits with me, and went into my house and lied down, buzzing off my face, just lie down and close my eyes. I remember opening my eyes, and I saw 5 people, big muscly guys, Ray-Ban glasses on, hairstyles. What's going on here? They only happen to be the ambulance men. In LA, everyone looks good. even the ones that don't look too good, they still look good. They were the ambulance. The 2 people I was living with, they called the ambulance because I saw the state of my knees. And anyway, so the next thing, I'm in Cedar Sinai Hospital in Hollywood getting treatment, but it didn't stop me. As soon as I came out, I was back on it, back on the crack, back on this, and I think going to LA, trying to be an actor with people I didn't like. In particular, I chose something else. I found a guy from South Central, lovely, gangster capital Los Angeles, that appealed to me. Introduced me to crack, beautiful, another drug I never had, that appealed to me. Had a bit of sherm, appealed to me. Cannabis was great, alcohol, this is it, this is my life. Then I ran out of money. I blew my last lot of money in Vegas. I remember the day I asked my parents to send me the money. I came back, and my mum couldn't recognize me. I was so skinny. Chris. It was like looking at someone who's just come out of a famine. I was bones. It was crazy. It was crazy, and I mean, for her to break down in tears. And that was it. And I mean, I don't know how long we got, Chris, but I mean,
just carry on, mate.
Yeah, are you sure?
Yeah,
because
it's
we've
got all the time in the world, mate.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
It's I come back and joined the family business because I had no life going on, and eventually I got into a film. Actually, I did a film. Finally, I got into a film. After all these years of taking drugs, I didn't get into film. Training at the Actors Studio in Hollywood and in London, the best studio in the world, with the likes of the great Al Pacino, De Niro, Brando, James Dean, Paul Newman, Marilyn Monroe, some top actors have trained. And I just got caught up in the drug and the alcohol life, which is the best way for me, because that's all I knew from boarding school and thereon. And then my mate's brother's girlfriend was a casting director, and it really is who you know. And then I did an audition, got shortlisted between myself and another guy for the main Asian gangster role. Again, gangster film that just came out. I didn't meet. That just happened that way. He got it. Which I believe the producer believes that's the reason it was a flop. But that was the look that he was looking for, and he got it, and I got a bit part. But I loved it. There were some good actors in that film. Max Beasley, great actor. I get beaten up by him a couple of times in the film. Paul Chowdhury, the comedian, who
I love Paul Chowdhury.
I do really.
Fantastic.
I do a lot of work with his sister.
Funny guy.
Yeah, I do a lot of work with his sister. And I met him the other day, and I was so tempted. Like, we were in the same film together 20 years ago. But James Bolam, Chiwetel Ejiofor, do you know him?
Say that again.
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
No.
Top actor, mate. He was. You'll know him in a minute. He was the main actor in 12 Years a Slave.
Okay. Yeah.
He was Denzel Washington's brother in American Gangster.
Yeah.
So he was the main actor. Obviously, you know, Thandie Newton. She was in the film, it was great. It was a great experience. But I just got off my face before every take. I was just off I had my own cabin with my name on it, Saf Buxy. Well, it was my name before I checked. It was Saf Buxy. And it was just fucking smoking cracks, marijuana, primos. When it was my turn to go on set, they knock on the door opened. like, yeah, come on, man. You know, you know what I mean? It was just crazy, man. But because of the films, and I called it method acting, Chris, because I was getting beaten up. I tried to look a bit mash up. Do you know what I mean? So,
of course.
So yeah. So I mean, I was in 4 scenes. They cut one of them, but in 2 of the scenes, I'm getting beaten up. And the third one, my fingers are chopped off. So it was a great experience. It was great to do a feature film. It was great. It was, you know, well, I must be 24 at that time then, 25 when it came out. But alcohol and drugs got me through that as well. You know what I mean? It was just incredible. A guy from school that I used to hang around with, he's a half Jamaican, half African guy. Very big and very strong and very tall even as a kid, but we became extremely close after school, and he was involved in some nasty stuff. He's 6'6", huge guy, bit of a hoodlum, quite a feared man in London, from Harlesden, northwest London, and in the end he became a godfather of my kids and all that. But the lifestyle that he was involved with attracted me. So it was like the bit where the abuser becomes, without saying too much, it's like where the abused becomes the abuser. Yeah. Not that I abused anyone at all or anywhere near the abuse that I got, but it was some kind of control or some kind of power where other people were doing their things and I was part of it, or I knew them, and that was attractive for me. And so I moved with him for many, many years. Obviously, I knew him from school, but, you know, a lot of dodgy stuff went on, mainly involving drugs, and that's the whole toxic lifestyle, really. So it was a very interesting time in my life, that was, for many years. But my drugs just went to a different level. Cocaine came into my life big time, and it was the best thing I ever had. I mean, by this time I got married and I had 2 little kids, but, you know, my mum died and no excuses, but that's when cocaine came into my life, and it helped me through that, and it helped me. But I liked it. I liked what it did to me. It was It was wonderful. It was expensive. Cocaine's expensive, so I had to find the money to get it. So being involved with people like this was easy money. It wasn't straight money, but it was easy money. And I'm not prepared to say what I unfortunately had to do or did to get this kind of money, but I got it. Not proud of it at all, but it funded my habit. I juggled a little bit of cocaine, not to make serious money, just to fund my own habit, really. So I did a bit of that. I had my own car wash, which was more of a front, where some stories in that car wash, I'll tell you that. But it was great because, cars come, it was a great front. Customers would come, take their drugs, and everyone's a winner, as I thought. And then my dad died. And that was it. The two people who adopted me in 1972, and the only ones that I knew up until until I got married and had my own kids, had gone. That was it. My dad dying affected me in such a way that Thursday that same night, he had a heart attack in the morning, was taken to the hospital. He was all right. I went out clubbing. I left the wife and kids at home. I went out clubbing because I had it already organised. When you got something organised as an addict, you're going to carry on doing it no matter what's happened. Get a phone call, not pick up the phone because I was doing dodgy stuff, whatever. In the end, I phoned the missus back. She goes, "You got to come to hospital." And obviously my dad had died, and it was like one of the regrets that I'll always have, that I was off my face, and I should have been in Maidstone in Kent with my dad, who had a heart attack in the morning. Instead I was in London doing what I was doing, and something that I'll never forget. So rather than changing after his death, it got worse. I found crystal meth. Crystal meth was introduced in my life, Chris, and I know all drugs are bad, and arguably alcohol is probably the worst one, and they make you do things out of character. But if there's one drug that really makes you do things out of character, it's crystal meth.
Yeah.
I can't, I don't know if you've experienced it.
Yes.
I can't even explain what it does, but what I can do is that it grabbed me.
Yeah.
It grabbed me like nothing has ever grabbed me. Even talking about it now, it's the only drug today that makes my hands sweat, makes my body tingle. That was how powerful and how filthy that drug is.
It is.
It took away my dignity. It took away my sanity, 100%. It took away morality, morals. I mean, the things that I did on that drug, I can't even tell you about. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. It was. I mean, thieving was a big part of it. It just you just don't care.
No,
I mean, you don't care. You don't care anything. But when you have that,
you're just absolutely untouchable. You think it's scary. You go to it's next level.
It's really. I mean, I spoke to a heroin in the past. Thankfully, I only tried it once. My mate who's in recovery now, I said, she claims that heroin was the best thing she's ever done, but she's in recovery now. And she said to me, if I'd had heroin the second time, it would have been all over. Yeah. She goes, "Thank God you stopped at that first. You didn't like it." Yeah. That's what she says to me today.
Me too.
I mean, I can't. I mean, I know heroin's a downer, and this one isn't. But crystal meth, we call it ice, and it got me into so much trouble. Because I was getting it off of a gang called the Snakeheads. They're part of the Triads, so I know now. I didn't even it was, my life was in danger. I did a lot of thieving. Did a lot of crazy stuff that I'm embarrassed to even talk about, let alone think about. And it took me to a different level. It took me to a level that I didn't care about myself, let alone anyone else. Didn't care at all. I mean, I'm surprised I'm alive. I remember I OD'd on it. Not just that, but I was in a cocktail of drugs. I remember it was clearly I was driving, and I always drive lovely cars. That was all part of my front. That was my imaginary gangster syndrome. You know about the IGS.
Yeah,
I was doing the IGS, and I'm driving up. I mean, my own personal cars were Mercedes and MLs, but I was hiring Bentleys for the weekend, like they were mine. I remember I was driving my ML, and I went to the petrol station, and I was so off my face. I was like, if you'd see me, you'd think I'd just come out of the shower. I was dripping with wet. And I remember I just collapsed, and I went out. I was out of the car. Next thing I wake up on the forecourt, I got people around me. And they say, "Oh, don't worry, the ambulance are coming." I said, "What?" I got into the car, I had no fuel in the car. I got in the car, and they go, "You can't go." So I just drove off, went to the crystal meth dealer and did more. Come on, man, that's insanity.
Yep.
That's insanity. It was like, I mean, obviously we've just touched the tip of the iceberg here, Chris, but my word, my life was terrible. It was terrible, and thankfully, I had a property business, and I was earning very good money, which earning X amount of money, say for example, 60 grand a month, but spending 80 grand a month because gambling came part of my life. And I'm gambling, not just gambling, but gambling other people's money whilst I'm off my face on crystal meth, cocaine, and alcohol, which would be a standard day.
Yeah.
I was just going downhill. I was just digging that hole deeper and deeper and deeper. I was in debt. My physical health was going, my mental health was going, my marriage was going, my family relationships, everything was going downhill, and I couldn't see it because ice kept me going. Just like alcohol kept me going when I was getting traumatized on a daily basis, just like cocaine and crack kept me going in LA when I was getting no acting work. Crystal meth was keeping me going when nothing was going. It just kept me going. But at such a negative level because I didn't realize that these things that I thought were keeping me going were the ones that were not. They were getting me down. They were digging that hole for me. I didn't realize it got to a stage where things were just, I mean, the individual stories will be in the book, but it's when I write these things or think about things, I just think, wow. And I guess that's what motivates me to do what I'm doing today.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's touch on the stuff you're doing in recovery. And
yeah, well, I'll tell you how recovery came. Actually, I was working as asset manager at that time, and we went to Berlin. We went to Berlin to look at some properties, assets, to offer to our clients. So I went with my boss, stayed at a lovely hotel in Berlin. Have you ever been to Berlin?
No.
Yeah, if you're going to have one night of madness, I think I probably did it or close to it. I went to Berlin, usual story, got off my face, blah, 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 got arrested, saying another police cell, sitting in a police cell thinking, wow, Germany have got it right. It's the nicest cell I've ever been in. I should be thinking, wait a minute, I've just transferred 10 grand of my wife's money to my account the night before. Again, she's probably gone crazy. And she did. Anyway, police dropped me back. We had to get the flight back. My boss has seen it. Inevitably sat me on the journey back. Probably the best thing that happened to me. Come back. A lot of things happened a week before that with the wife, and police were involved again in the UK. But my daughter, who hated me or didn't like me very much at that time, had phoned a rehab place. So the Monday after, I went into rehab. And even then, Chris, I just did it to tick the boxes. I thought, I'll keep them sweet. Go to rehab. Ain't going to work. But in rehab, I was introduced to the Minnesota program. As you know, it's 12 steps. And that changed my life. It changed my life. The God thing for people was a big thing. But for me, because I was brought up in a religious way and forced to believe in God, this way I wasn't forced. This way, what I was forced to do or made to do, not forced, made to do over my years, I didn't do it, but I knew a lot about it. And now, in recovery, I'm getting introduced to the 12 steps, and they're talking about God. And at the end, I said, it came naturally to me. The God thing actually came, and I actually took it on board, and it helped me in the early days. So the 12 steps just was a big part of my life. But the biggest part was out of all the 12 steps. The defects of character, as you know, I think still 6, whatever. They're all good steps. But I think the thing that's kept me sober, the thing that's kept me alive, is being of service to others. There's no two ways, and I will do absolutely anything I can, physically and mentally, do if it's of service to others. And I try and maintain it. And I ain't saying this out of ego. I'm saying this because I genuinely want to help people. I genuinely want to help people overcome whatever it is. It's not just addiction, it was whatever it is, homelessness, mental health, men's mental health. And hence I'm now a COO, a Chief Operating Officer of a men's mental health charity called HIS. HIS. It's a wonderful project, and please look out for it because we're soon to be registered. I'm also a trustee of Aspire to Be a Recovery Community you may have heard of. It's a peer support-led recovery group. We go into rehabs, we go to CGL, people come to us. We have we have groups every other day. At the moment, it's online groups that we're doing because of the lockdown. I work for CGL as a drug and alcohol practitioner. I'm doing a master's now in addiction psychology and counselling. I'm writing a book to give a message of hope. I've got my own radio show, Chris, as you know. It's called Saf Surgery. Every Sunday night, show's on tonight, where we've got a lovely lady who suffered addiction, sexual abuse, crazy divorce, suicide. We've got her on tonight, and again, the show's about addiction, trauma, and mental health. And it's to give people hope that there is a way out. And I've got my own show starting on Thursday with the Speak Up and Empower group, a Canadian platform. Again, we talk about issues like we're talking about today, and like I do in my radio show. So I try and give back as much as I can. And a lot of stuff that I've mentioned is voluntarily. It all is, really, except my work at CGL. As you know, working in the charity sector, it's not about the money. It's about trying to help as many people as I can. And I think, like yourself, and working with people like yourself, I think we should work as a communion, work as a collective, because that's the way forward. All my life I've been competing with everyone else. And where has that got me? All my life I've been chasing the paper. Where's that got me? It's big part of 12 steps has taught me is to come out of self, and I really truly believe that I've done that. Come on, Chris, it's times where we're a bit narcissistic ourselves and have a bit of ego, but as long as we don't make it as our main coordinate, we're all right. Do you know what I mean? As long as it's just a little bit there, do you know what I mean? Because you're looking smooth yourself now, Chris. You're looking great. You're looking, so life is wonderful now, and I really intend on doing this for the rest of my life. But there's no two ways about it. I mean, people are coming up to me, offering me business opportunities and this opportunity. I'm not interested, Chris. Yeah, I'm not interested in making £1 million. And there's no such thing as easy money. I've tried it. It doesn't work. I'd rather help humanity. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather help you. But that makes me sleep well at night. Yeah, I've got to put some money in the house because I've got 2 kids and a wife. But it don't have to be millions. It don't have to be hundreds of thousands. Not for me.
Fantastic, Saf, and it's been fascinating actually. You coming on the podcast and sharing your experience, and unbelievable, mate. That was absolutely unbelievable.
You didn't get a word in edgeways. I do apologise, Chris.
No, listen, mate. It's not about me, mate. You're the guest, and this is what we like to do: give a platform for others. And it's for some great insight as well. That's why I wanted you on the show. Obviously, I didn't know the ins and outs, or I didn't know any of it, but I just knew, that you're a champion in recovery, and I knew you'd be a great guest. Hey ho, look at that. Fantastic.
Oh, no, thank you very much for having me. I've absolutely loved it, and I always like saying this Mahatma Gandhi quote. It's quite funny because I was never a Gandhi fan, but my favourite one is the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And I truly, truly believe that. And I want nothing back in return.
That's powerful, and it's humility. We've gone from, that ego force field to, shredding that. And, we have to find some humility. I've had I can relate to you, everything you've gone through, mate. And then, because I know the insidious insanity we can go through in our actions and behaviours and thought processes. But that was absolutely a wonderful insight. And so you've got Saf Surgery. Maidstone Radio.
Saf Surgery, Maidstone Radio.
What time and what day is that, mate?
It's Saf Surgery every Sunday night, 7 p.m. till 10 p.m. Obviously, we're doing things remotely at the moment because we're not allowed in the studio. We have a guest who either has a story to tell, or we have a service provider. We have mental health institutions. We have empowering coaches. We have all different types of people coming on.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. I've seen a good few. And
Yeah.
listen, if you want to jump on that Saf surgery, absolutely fantastic. You want some insight or you want to be empowered, believe me, just just check it out. It's fantastic.
Yeah, man. wearemason.com, or you can even go to www.safs-surgery.com and go to listen to the link. And Thursdays now, 8 o'clock UK time, live, 3 p.m. Eastern time, is Speak Up and Empower. It's a real talk where I'll have real people, and it's a live show over Zoom, but it's people who have an incredible story as well, or are people who are high profile in their field of work. So it'd be either mental health or addiction. That'll be every Thursday night, and that'll be on loads of platforms. So if you want to go on Saf Surgery Facebook page, everything will be advertised there. Or hook me up, Saf Buxy. Or if you want to ask me anything, info@safs-surgery.com.
Yeah, we'll put the links down below. So all the information will be down there. We'll put it in for you so you can check that out. So once again, Saf, I just want to say thank you, my friend. It's been an absolute pleasure and joy having you on. And hopefully, you're a friend of the show. Hopefully we can get you back on again at some point. But wonderful. And good luck with the book.
Thank you. Yeah. It'd be interesting.
Intrigued, so you better get me a book and you better sign it for me.
I'll sign it for you, man. Yeah. I know I would have used the pages back in the day, but that's another story. But Chris, I love you to come on my show as well.
It'll be a pleasure, mate. We can speak about that. Just stay on for a minute while we end the show, but just stay there. So thank you, guys. That's Your Opinion podcast. Please like and subscribe. We'll be back next week with more content. So until then, peace out.